The time is now, here and now. UFC 280 preview and prediction podcast hosted by Ryan Thomas, the man sitting right here, right now, the man that you're listening to right here on the mic, right on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast YouTube channel, or however you are tuning in, because there are many ways to tune in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Let me tell you one thing. It's one word, the only word that matters in the content creation game, whether you have a podcast, whether you have a channel of any sort, streaming, video gaming, you name it, subscribe. That's the only thing you have to do in order to be a part of the show is subscribe. I will make you a part of this show in many, many ways. All you got to do is hit the red bell on YouTube, like the Facebook page. The Thomas Take Sports Podcast is available on any and all audio podcasting platforms. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, it's out there. You just got to subscribe. That's it. That's what I wanted to start off the show with tonight. For all MMA combat sports coverage, follow the Thomas Take Sports Podcast as I have on the ticker below, the Thomas Take ticker, fight predictions, pre- and post-fight reactions, and listen to yours truly play mixed martial arts matchmaker. How do you like that? Matchmaker, MMA matchmaker. When these fights happen and you have a winner or a loser, I like to say who the winner should fight. I like to say who the loser of the fight should fight next. That's fun. I get to play Joe Silva, Sean Shelby, whoever you want to call me. I get to play that part. You can fire away some comments in the comment section below. Follow along on Twitter and Instagram at Ryan Thomas Take. And as I mentioned, the YouTube channel, the Facebook, you get the point. Let's get right to it, shall we? Let's get right to it. So, I believe that this is one of the best cards that the UFC has put on in quite some time. And that says a lot because the UFC has done very well in the aftermath of COVID-19. During COVID-19, they were doing really well. Their fan base grew 42% in the span of the first year of COVID, shall I say. So the UFC is doing big things. They're doing really well, and shout out to Dana White. There's nobody in the sports world like him in terms of his ability to put on great events for the fight fans. You can say what you want about Dana, but he did that for us. Much appreciated to Dana White for that. So, UFC 280 preview and prediction podcast. There are 3 fights on this card that takes place October 22nd, Saturday, that I am really excited for. And I want to start off with a fight that features the former UFC bantamweight champion of the world, that is Petr Yan, who lost his title to Aljamain Sterling via an illegal technique. Afterwards, Yan fought Sandhagen, beat Sandhagen in a decision, was able to get that rematch with Aljamain, and Aljamain won fair and square in the rematch. So now Petr Yan is somewhat hitting the reset button from that moment in his career and is taking on a fighter that is a very interesting test for Yan at this current time. And I tell you this, as I go to the tail of the tape, this one is a fight featuring a former champion who is 16-3. His last fight was a loss. Sean O'Malley's last fight against Pedro Munoz was a no contest. And you see the fact that both of these guys are very different from one another. What jumps out at you? Not only the championship experience that Yan has and the lack of championship experience that Sugar Sean O'Malley has, but simply put, the reach difference between Petr Yan and Sugar Sean O'Malley, 67 inches to 72 inches. Why does that matter? Well, it matters. That is Sean O'Malley's best chance to win this fight, is within the reach department, within the reach game, whatever you want to call it, as I move my logo out of the way here. This is his best opportunity. Keep the fight within a distance, within a range, and play your game, which Sean O'Malley has done very successfully. Even in his loss to Chito Vera, there were kicks that were landed. There were kicks that were landed hard, and in his no contest win against Pedro Munoz, to be quite frank with you, I thought Pedro Munoz could have continued to fight. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being a little overzealous in saying that, but I thought Sean O'Malley should have got the W for that fight, frankly. But the big question with this fight, among the many, but I would say the biggest question with this fight is the simple fact, I should say, is Sugar Sean O'Malley ready for a test like this? Is he ready enough to be tested in this form and fashion against a fighter the caliber of Petr Yan? Because one wrong move or one right move, and Petr Yan could be the champion of the world right now. Aljamain Sterling had him in some real weird positions. One scramble that would have went Jan's way could have led the fight going, Jan's way. Could have led to that, I should say. But it didn't. And if I were to pick this fight, I would say that Jan is the smart money here. Jan is the right fight to pick. In checking out this card, I did notice something that is pretty random to me, and it's the simple fact that this fight card actually takes place at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, due to the fact that it is in Abu Dhabi, Yas Island, Etihad Arena at the United Arab Emirates. This is a rare occasion where this fight card is during the day, and this is one that I know I don't want to miss, so you shouldn't either. If I'm not missing it, you shouldn't miss it. So scrolling up here on the card, which is literally on the UFC.com website. This is not my website. I'm just using their website. This is the fight that I am honestly most excited for. The next fight to discuss is Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Now, the last pick, I didn't even give an official pick, which was dumb. I should have given an official pick. Let's just say for the last fight, Ryan Thomas is picking Petr Yan. Okay, that I believe. I think Yan can get it done. I think Yan has the ability to get it done against O'Malley. I like Sean O'Malley. I like what he brings inside and outside the cage, but I feel like Yan is a little bit too much for him too soon. If Sugar Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, he's on a rocket ship to another fight, possibly number one contender fight or a title shot, and rightfully so. This next fight, Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw, I really feel that this is the best fight that the UFC Bantamweight division has to offer in recent memory. And I'll tell you why. This division has undergone a lot of changes in the aftermath of Henry Cejudo's retirement. Aldo's gone. Jan is on the outside looking in. Aljamain Sterling, though, is someone that I definitely have looked past in previous fights, thinking that he doesn't have what it takes to win. And somehow, some way, he seems to find a way to win. And I think that that's very important when talking about Aljamain Sterling in general, let alone Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Because Aljamain Sterling is a very fresh champion. I don't want to say he's a new champion, but he doesn't have a lengthy list of title defenses, obviously. And he's going up against a guy that is quite possibly the greatest UFC bantamweight of all time in TJ Dillashaw, who never lost his title. And I want to make that point. He never lost his championship. He was only stripped of it for being a bad soldier. For being a bad influence on other fighters, competitors, combat sports athletes. Making the ultimate mistake that a combat sports athlete could make, and that is testing positive. Testing positive for EPO, testing positive and being banned for 2 years. But, hey, why did TJ Dillashaw get this title shot then? If he did that, why did he get this title shot? So many people are questioning why TJ Dillashaw got this title shot. And for me, it's stupid. It's stupid to second guess why TJ Dillashaw got this title shot. You want to know why that's stupid. Why is that stupid? It's stupid because TJ Dillashaw was suspended and he took a suspension, faced it like a man, admitted that he was wrong, came back and fought the toughest guy that you could fight at 135 pounds after being off for 2 years, and he got the decision against Corey Sandhagen. TJ Dillashaw fought through injuries in that fight that most guys would never fight through. A torn ACL, PCL, and a plethora of other injuries to his collarbone, to his elbow, and frankly to his face. The fight with TJ Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen helped me regain my respect for TJ Dillashaw in the aftermath of his suspension. It was a perfect fight for him to come back to, and it was a fight that he aced and won. Now, we're getting into the nitty-gritty here of him winning, and we're getting into the nitty-gritty of whether I believe Dillashaw actually got the decision. I think he did. Obviously, the record shows that, but personally, I would have given Sandhagen the victory. I would have given Sandhagen the win off of that fight. I felt like he did more than enough in that fight to get the nod. So who do I think is going to win this one and why? You know, as I'm bringing this closer, who do I think is going to win this one and why? And how can this matchup happen? Where do I see this matchup taking place, I should say? What facet of mixed martial arts do I see this matchup taking place? Let me tell you this. Aljamain Sterling's bread and butter is within the ground game. It's within the ground game. Aljamain Sterling is great when able to get his opponent to the mat. TJ Dillashaw is arguably one of the best pure grapplers at 135 pounds. That's what brought him to the dance of the Ultimate Fighter finale against John Dodson years back. That's what has been his safety valve in his career against very tough competition. And that's the only thing that TJ Dillashaw has ever faced is very tough competition, time and time again. So if Aljamain Sterling thinks that he's going to Peter Yan TJ Dillashaw, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And if TJ Dillashaw thinks that Aljamain Sterling's striking is weak or is horrible, I think that's a slippery slope to ride as well. I don't think either guy really respects the skill set of one another heading into this fight. Aljo doesn't like the fact that TJ cheated, and TJ doesn't like the fact that Aljo thinks he's the rightful champ, when obviously many people don't feel like he should have ever even won the title in the first place. They feel like he was faking and all this, that, and the other. So, who do I got winning this one? Who do I think is going to take it? I think TJ Dillashaw is going to be a 3-time UFC bantamweight champion. I think he's just the better fighter, top to bottom, as well-rounded as any fighter in the UFC bantamweight division. He's got the resume. He's got the skill. 18-4. Who has he lost to? Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz are two of those 4 losses. Those are two of the best 135ers of all time. You look at the grappling percentages, as I like to. The takedown accuracy of TJ Dillashaw at 30%, and the takedown defense of TJ Dillashaw at 86%. The wrestling game is his, and if this fight is a grappling match, I think TJ Dillashaw wins it 10 times out of 10. If this fight is a boxing match, I think TJ Dillashaw's stand-up is far better than Aljamain Sterling. I think TJ Dillashaw is just simply the better fighter out of these two guys. Frankly, no disrespect to Aljamain. I understand, how premium of an athlete he is to get to this point. He's a champ for a reason. I just don't see it being good enough this time around. I just don't. So, my picks so far. Ryan Thomas is picking Petr Yan, and if you're typing, I didn't put this on there, so Yan and Dillashaw, and I apologize for that. I forgot to put this on, so on the banner. Yan and Dillashaw so far are the picks. Okay, Yan and Dillashaw so far. Those are the picks. So moving on to Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev, which is the main event Saturday, October 22nd, as Charles Dubronx Oliveira takes on Islam Makhachev. This is one that I believe will be one of the best cards, one of the best main events in recent UFC history. This is a grappler fanatic's dream, this fight between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. And let me tell you, I truly feel that Charles Oliveira's rise to what he has become, which is nothing short of an amazing talent inside this sport. What Charles Oliveira has done is truly legendary. This man was a middle card fighter that essentially was a 500 guy. He would win, he'd lose, he'd win, he'd lose, he'd lose, he'd win. There was a lack of consistency in Charles Oliveira's fight record, and you see it, 33-8 with one no contest. And then Charles Oliveira went on this tear, this run, that I think you look at Charles Oliveira, you would see that Charles Oliveira has had one hell of a go these last few years. This doesn't have the recent victories that Oliveira has had, but let's just rattle them off. The title defenses we know very well. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, those three guys are killers, right? Those three guys are straight up assassins in the octagon. They've inflicted plenty of harm, and they did inflict harm on Oliveira, and he battled back in a way that I don't think any other fighter could do that. No other fighter could battle back from that. Not even Khabib, not Conor especially. Charles Oliveira is a real warrior. This guy really wants it, and it's a real shame that this fight is for the vacant UFC lightweight title when Charles Oliveira is the champ. In my eyes, he's the champ. I don't care about this weight miss. I usually am very critical of fighters that miss weight because I never did, and it's unprofessional when they do. It makes the sport look bad. It makes them look bad. It's just bad. That's like the one thing you have to agree to, and you agree to it, and you got to make it happen, and they don't sometimes on occasion. And when it happens, it really frustrates me. But for all the fight nerds and fight fans out there that wonder whether Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev is the rightful fight for this division, you have to say to yourself, it is. Because enough fans asked for it. Enough fans asked for Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev for this fight to be a reality. Because they wondered, how would Oliveira fight against a guy like Khabib? Well, here you go. This Islam Makhachev, not only does he kind of look like Khabib, he's Khabib's basically little brother, essentially. Given that Khabib has kind of raised this man within the sport of mixed martial arts, and this guy has been his protege, however you want to word it, 22-1 with sheer dominance across the board throughout his career, lends itself to the belief that this guy is legitimate, and he does have skill, especially in the grappling department, as did Khabib during his championship reign as the last UFC lightweight champion prior to Oliveira, of course. So, can Islam Khabib Charles Oliveira? Is Islam Khabib? We're going to get the answers to those questions. But it's very tough for me in picking a fight between a guy that has gone through Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Chandler to then say, Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee included, to then say Islam Makhachev can beat him. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't look past Charles Oliveira anymore. I won't do it. I haven't done it in a long time, and I'm not going to do it now. So I'm picking Charles Oliveira to win against Islam Makhachev and keep his belt. Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev is one that I'm very excited for among the other fights. Aljamain Sterling is Aljamain Sterling, I should say, as well as TJ Dillashaw and Dubronx Oliveira, as they call him. Man, this is just a great card. My picks: Ryan Thomas picks Petr Yan, TJ Dillashaw, and Dubronx, Charles Dubronx Oliveira, and still UFC lightweight champion. Folks, I'm out. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast UFC 280 preview and prediction show.